Hey guys, this is Jason Marsden. I voice Max Goof. Hey, if Max were here, he'd say, "Hey, check it out. My buddy PJ just told me about this great new podcast that I should listen to. It's called the St Canard Files, a Darkwing Duck podcast. Oh man, let's get dangerous. Sounds like a blast. I'll listen to it right after this Powerline song ends." Yup.
Okay, folks, it's time to unleash the Darkwings. Welcome to the St Canard Files, a Darkwing Duck podcast. I'm your host, Mike Russo, and
Tiffany Silverbraun.
How you doing, Tiff?
Pretty good.
Yeah, me too. We got a really big snowstorm last week, which was nice to get that much snow. We got it on the weekend, so would have been nice to have had a snow day from work, but I'm not complaining. When I'm able to get my kid outside to build a snowman and enjoy ourselves, it was nice. You guys don't get snow where you live, though, right?
Yeah, I'm jealous. Nope.
It's
In California that much. Maybe in the mountains a little bit.
a shame. Have you ever been anywhere where there was snow? Have you lived anywhere but California?
I was in Washington for a little bit. I remember the first time I ever saw snow, I was an adult. I think I was like in my 20s, my early 20s or something.
Oh, that's crazy. It's so hard to wrap my brain around that.
I know. It's always crazy for me. The first time was I was taking the Greyhound somewhere and I was by the mountains and we got out for a break and I just saw like these little tiny like snowflakes falling and I was like, oh my God, it's snowing. And everyone's just like looking at me like I'm a weirdo. And I was like twinkle in my eye, like so excited.
Well, snow is pretty amazing. As long as it doesn't completely ruin your commute or completely bury your car.
Yeah, and then I also remember driving through somewhere and I saw snow again, and it's weird when you don't grow up with it because the way that it looks is fake. Like it looks like a Christmas decoration. Like that's kind of the only context is that it looks like a fake Christmas decoration.
So we have some congratulations in order for one of our frequent guests. Bill Udesky became a father last week.
Yay!
Yay! Congratulations, Bill. I hope your little Tailspin fan in the making is doing well. Because you know that's exactly what's going to happen.
Yep.
But congrats, man. Of course, to our listeners, Bill was on a whole bunch of episodes we've done. He was actually on with both of us, Tiffany, on the Disney Afternoon episodes from last year. And he was on for the DuckTales retrospective, a few other episodes, the Jim Cummings and retrospective, and the voice actors who have passed away, episode 2. So he's been on a lot, and nothing but congrats for him. We wish him, and if the baby doesn't turn into a Tailspin fan, you have a Back to the Future fan in the making too. So congratulations, Bill. We love you, man. So, you wanted to talk about something tonight before we start talking about this comic, didn't you, Tiff?
Yeah.
What are we talking about tonight before we start?
Comic books.
Comic books? We don't talk about comic books here. But no, seriously. So, what's your history with comic books?
My dad was a huge collector, so I grew up with heavily with comic books. And
what types?
Well, he was super into DC comics and Batman specifically. And I mean, I'm kind of the same. I love Batman. I love DC. I like Marvel too, just not as familiar with stuff. I mean, yeah, I like horror comic books, and he was the one who got me into reading the Uncle Scrooge comics too.
Ah, I have never owned a Batman. I've owned a lot of comics over the years, but mostly not the superhero stuff. And I don't really even have that much of the Uncle Scrooge stuff. I have like some modern reprints, nothing old though. Not to say I'm not aware of the Carl Barks stuff. I just don't have a lot of his work. Do you have stuff you collected now that you have from different?
Yeah, I have a pretty good comic collection now. But my thing is specifically all the female characters, mainly
Cool.
superhero characters. That's what I try to like have as my focus of my collection.
Who's your favorite female superhero?
Well, I like Harley Quinn. I also like Batgirl.
Okay. Yeah, my wife likes Batgirl and my daughter likes Wonder Woman.
I like Wonder Woman too. On the Marvel side, I like Storm, and I like recently I like America Chavez. I don't know if you know that character, America.
Doesn't ring a bell.
I think she's gonna be in one of the Marvel movies.
Because
soon.
of course she is.
Yep.
There's no Marvel character at this point that I could say shouldn't be in a movie, because if they can make the Guardians of the Galaxy relevant, they can do anything.
Do you have any comics that you want that are on your like list of ones to get?
No, apart from the Marvel Disney Afternoon comics that I'm trying to find an issue 10 for cheap, which is very hard. No, not really. But I mean, I have a lot of comics. I have the closest thing I have to like superhero comics is I have the Marvel Godzilla comics from the 70s. And those had the Avengers and the Fantastic Four in them. I have the only DC comics I have are the Animaniacs ones. So you kind of see where my interest goes. It's mostly the cartoon stuff. I have a lot of the old Disney stuff, Disney Afternoon, the Rescue Rangers, Darkwing Duck, Tailspin I've got. I do have most of the Archie Comics Ninja Turtles issues. I have most of that stuff.
Nice.
As well as Marvel's Ren and Stimpy comics. And of course, all the Boom and Joe Book's Darkwing stuff. Multiple copies of every issue of that. But obviously, most of what I was into, and most of what I bought was either Godzilla or Disney or other cartoons.
Yeah,
not really the superhero
not
stuff.
Really superhero stuff.
And I'll plug, if anybody wants to listen to it, last year, shortly before Godzilla vs. Kong came around, I was on a podcast. It was called the Epic Marvel Podcast. They had 2 episodes talking about the Marvel Godzilla comics. So I was on that about a year ago. So anybody who wants to listen to that, it's called the Epic Marvel Podcast. And that was hosted by Curtis Finley, who was on with us for the Jurassic Jumble episode a couple of years ago. So want to check that out, go right ahead. Nice. And any other comic stuff you want to talk about, Tiffany, before we move on?
I think that's it.
Okay. Short bit of news before we start. If you didn't want to join the Disney Movie Club to get a hold of the Rescue Rangers Blu-ray, it is available on Amazon, and it's dropping next week. I think the 15th. And based on the packaging I've seen, it is going to be full screen. So thankfully, the crop to widescreen versions on Disney Plus are not what we're getting.
I hate that.
I really hate that too, but at least now we're not stuck watching it on Disney Plus. We actually are going to have a complete high def collection of it. Right. So I did pre-order it. Hopefully we're not burned by something else. I hope it's presentable. I hope it looks good. I hope there's nothing wrong with it. The packaging on the back, it does have a content warning on it. similar to what's on Disney Plus, which gives me hope it at least isn't edited, and we know every episode is there. So that's a start. Maybe we'll get more, but we'll have to wait and see. I'm looking forward to seeing what it's like. My guess is Disney realized anybody who's going to sign up for Disney Plus to watch these shows did it 2 years ago. And now this is the only way left they can make money from these shows. Now they're doing it on Blu-ray. After all this time has passed and they realized we've milked this stuff as far as we can, except on home video. I'm hoping we get the other shows, but since Tailspin, Darkwing, and DuckTales have not been remastered as far as I know, who knows?
It's weird that they wouldn't start with DuckTales. Seems like that's their number one.
DuckTales A is complete on DVD, so I don't think there's a huge rush for it. And B, DuckTales is looking pretty rough. They're going to have to really go in and scrub this, and I'm scared because if the Goof Troop in HD lost all their unique animation from the theme song, what's going to happen to DuckTales' theme song?
Yeah.
Because like half of that is unique animation. If they have to remove that, they gotta butcher the theme song. I'd rather them leave DuckTales alone. And like Darkwing, oof, who knows? I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see. It'll be nice to actually own all of Rescue Rangers, like all of it. So it won't be long before we're talking about though. They're coming out pretty soon. But okay, so jumping into Darkwing Duck, issue number 6, released November 2010. Let's talk about these covers, Tiffany. What's the first cover? What's cover A?
Cover A is the Silvani cover, and it has Darkwing, and he's standing on like a brick wall with his gas gun, and you see the Quiverwing Darkwing behind him about to shoot him with an arrow.
Cool cover. Nothing crazy, but it's nice and it's relevant to the story. I actually like cover B more.
Me too.
I mean, yes, I really love Silvani's stuff, but his stuff is in every single issue. The contents are all his work. So when you get somebody different on a cover, it's nice. Cover B was drawn by somebody named Diego Jordan. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Describe cover B, Tiff.
Cover B is a parody of Batman #9, Golden Age Batman, which is Darkwing, Launchpad, and Gosling in a spotlight.
And the original cover was Batman and Robin, correct?
Yes.
I think I researched it. 1942.
Yep.
That comic book would be worth a fortune.
Yeah.
But this is really nice. I love this art. It even says after Bob Kane on the signature down there. Characters are drawn really nice too.
Yeah. I like the highlights.
Although the colorist, once again, I don't know if it's the same colorist, colored Launchpad's legs and feet wrong.
Yeah, again. That happened.
Yeah. He's got the yellow colored feet when they should be his brown boots.
That's why he's behind Darkwing. He's hiding that he's not wearing his pants.
We talk too much about Launchpad's feet on this podcast. Every time I think we're done, we get back to it. So here we go with part 2 of Crisis on Infinite Darkwings. And once again, like this is just going forward. This is just how it is. Most of the dialogue is different between this and the Joe books. Nothing substantial has changed, but once again, the characters sound like themselves, especially Negaduck and Darkwing. And there are more verbal jokes in Definitively Dangerous. So obviously my opinion is if you have Definitively Dangerous, it's the only version worth reading. If you could find it for cheap, which I know is almost impossible right now, get that. I mean, if you find it for anything less than $100, definitely consider it. I'm directing it towards you, Tiffany, and everybody else. Because once you read these, you immediately realize, okay, the Boom issues were good, but this is just taking it to the next level. Which, like last week, I'll point out a few instances when things were changed that helped the jokes or helped the storyline, or adds a few more Darkwing entrances worth mentioning. So that said, how does issue 6 start?
So you see a shadowy figure on a gargoyle, which is
A gargoyle or the gargoyle?
it's Goliath from Gargoyles.
Oh, and by the way, this is the issue where James Silvani completely loses his mind.
Super reference heavy.
In fact, on this page, you don't just get Goliath. Baloo, in his tailspin outfit, is watching us through a window. So, what's going on?
So it's it looks kind of like it's Darkwing, but it's actually Negaduck.
Yep.
Standing there. And next page.
Yep, next page.
Okay. Next
As you guys can tell, we don't take notes. We're just looking at the comics as we're doing this. It's a lot easier. I'm done with taking notes. So so it's explaining how things got started with Negaduck and Magica.
He's monologuing.
Yup. So they're in the Quiverwing Duck universe, basically.
Yeah, and you see him, he has a giant mallet and he smashes a building, and you see Quiverwing Darkwing, and he electrocutes him and captures him. Or it looks like not electrocute, it's Magica's magic.
Yeah, Magica basically zaps him out, hypnotizes him, or just whatever it is. He's got spiralized and he's knocked out. And Negaduck ties him up, and Magica makes a comment like, do you really have to tie him up? And Negaduck's like, you never underestimate Darkwing Duck. Which is true. You gotta take your chances. Don't take your chances with Darkwing Duck, true. We do learn that Negaduck escaped the crime bots thanks to Magica's help.
Yeah.
That's explained to us, which that makes sense. And they have a back and forth. Again, Negaduck talks a bit less in Definitively Dangerous. He just can't keep his mouth shut in this comic. Talking a little bit too much. But Magica makes it clear in like a thought bubble that she's only interested in Scrooge as a dime, and once she's got that, she has no use for him.
Yeah.
And Negaduck makes a comment that he doesn't know what this particular Darkwing is called, but the outfit sure looks familiar. Because who wore the Quiverwing outfit?
Goslin.
Yep. So we cut over to the Mallard household, where Darkwing is having a fit. Because now he's public enemy number 1. Yep. And he's there with Launchpad, who's still wearing his Quackwork suit, Goslin, and Morgana.
He's not just public enemy number 1, he's public enemy 1 through 5.
Oh, and a good joke in the Definitively Dangerous. Launchpad says he's 1 through 5, even above Dr. Slug.
Yay, Dr. Slug again.
Yep. I love that they still reference him. You gotta know the show to make these references. And even though I've ragged on Ian Brill's writing, you could tell he is a fan of the show. He just has a hard time writing some of these characters. You know, it is what it is. We do notice in the art, Drake has pictures of Donald, Scrooge, and the nephews on the wall.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
Why would he have that? But anyway, Darkwing is trying to piece things together. He mentions, there's the dinosaur, the flaming arrows, the UFO. Not exactly Darkwing style, he says. Because now the whole city's out for blood because of these doppelgangers all over the place. And then we get our very first appearance in the comic of Herb Muddlefoot.
Yay.
And Tank. So Tank obviously did not get stuck in the chimney. He did not. He was not forgotten about. He didn't die up there. They got him down. They got him down. Another really good Joe Books correction for definitively dangerous. I don't think Herb Muddlefoot would be out to get Darkwing the way he's chanting here. And he says 1, 2, 3, 4, Darkwing Duck has got to go. And he's having a hard time with his chant. He says, because he's a menace and a danger to all of us. And weren't we better off without him? But in the Joe Books version, he says, actually, Darkwing Duck's a nice guy. Can't we just talk to him and we can all get along?
He's my best friend.
Yeah, basically. Which sounds a lot more like Herb. And if you look behind him, there's a bunch of signs. Some of them are pretty generic. You watch the waters because there's still that problem with the water that hasn't been addressed yet. When there's trouble,
blame PW.
Darkwing go home, wherever that is. Purple is the color of evil, and the smallest sign all the way in the back, what does it say?
It says bring back bonkers.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Oh, it's so great. So,
just for Will.
Just for Will. As Will would say, ew. But you know how I feel about bonkers. It's terrible, but I'm so fascinated by it.
Yeah.
So they didn't mention the water, so we check in with this water situation where we have yet another reporter who is not Tom Lockjaw. Myron Plastic. I don't know if that, I'm not getting the pun, if that even is a pun.
Get it either.
But apparently the gist of all this dialogue is the water gets crazier and funkier the more the city gets mad. Knowing what we know about who like shows up in the last part of the story arc, this actually makes sense.
Yep.
But if you don't know going in, this is super cryptic. And this guy gets attacked by a huge wave. If we didn't know any better, who would we think is doing this?
You would think that it's Liquidator.
So who knows? Maybe it is. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Okay, so Darkwing hatches a plan to do a press conference on the bridge to address what's going on with these Darkwing doppelgangers and the water. Because he's got to save his reputation. And we get a lot of more Silvani references here, including a lot more portraits of Scrooge and the kid, the nephews and Donald. We do get the Basil statue. We also get the carpet from Aladdin in one panel.
Yep.
So, again, he's lost his mind, and I love it. Goslin wants to come along, too, as Gosmo Duck, but what does he tell her?
He says that he needs her to be part of the crowd cheering him on.
And that drawing of Goslin with the flames over her head, she's so mad. And, of course, he wants Morgana to come with him to combine their powers. She wants him to help her. He wants her to help him, I should say. So Negaduck is watching this from his hideout with Magica, and he's loving it because he can tell what's going on is getting to Darkwing. And in the Joe Books version, he makes a comment under his breath that basically Magica should shut up and make him a sandwich. Because isn't that
the vibe you get from the art with him sitting in that old beat up recliner?
He's like, shut up and make me a sandwich, woman. Negaduck would totally say that.
Yeah.
But Magica asks him if he has something to do with the water, and he's like, no, but he's glad it's happening because it just gives Darkwing more to do.
Yeah, he loves the chaos.
He loves the chaos. So we go to the bridge. This is when the references go into like hyperdrive here. Overload, yeah. And there's a second reporter. Now we met Dip Dobson in issue 1. Now here is Chip Dipson. Do you think that's funny?
It's confusing is what it is.
I miss Tom Lockjaw.
Yeah.
So all these people have appeared on the bridge waiting for Darkwing's press conference. For now, all the people are pretty generic characters for the most part. But we get a guy...
And some of them are not.
Some of them are not. We'll get to those. Maybe this guy just says Darkwing. There's someone with a no Darkwing t-shirt. One kid's holding a Thunderquack toy. And then Darkwing makes his entrance.
You know, I want to say about that, I kind of wish they kept up the thing like in the show where all his fans are like super nerds.
That would be great, or at least reuse those character models.
Yeah.
Although one sign says, "We love you, Darkwing," and when I see that, I think of Let's Get Respectable when they keep replaying that one guy going, "We love you, Darkwing," over and over in the entire middle act. It's just that one sound bite. "We love you, Darkwing."
Totally.
So Darkwing shows up. He gets an entrance. "I am the terror that flaps in the night. I am the bad reputation you can't shake." But there's more. The definitively dangerous has him enter. He doesn't say, "I am the terror that flaps in the night." He says, "I am the sunshine that chases the clouds away." He says that because in the previous scene, Launchpad's like, when you go to the bridge, maybe you shouldn't say terror. So Darkwing says that. And then he says, "I am the extra French fries at the bottom of your hamburger hippo bag."
Nice.
That is great. But don't let that distract you from the fact that right below Darkwing are a bunch of characters who are based on Disney princesses.
Yeah.
We were trying to figure out who all of them are, and some of them are kind of sketchy, but we know we see Mulan and Snow White and Jasmine.
And then I think on the upper left, it might be Belle because of the hair.
I think one might be Cinderella too.
But
they're
yeah. On the
but they are kind of vague. But they're based on princesses because they have colored irises.
Yeah.
And Morgana's there too. She's watching as well. Is she a Disney princess? I don't know. So Darkwing addresses the crowd. And again, even though we see the back of the crowd's heads, we know most of these characters are based on something. Among the ones we saw, and jump in if I miss any, Chip and Dale, and it's Chip and Dale because Chip has his Rescue Rangers hat. We got the little pigs, 3 little pigs. I know we see the March Hare, Stitch, who's colored tan for some reason. Abu. Who else did we see?
The 2 Wuzzles on the top.
Yes.
Left.
Top left, 2 Wuzzles. You got Meg from Hercules, an orange Cheshire Cat.
Yeah.
And probably a whole bunch more that we're not quite making out.
Maybe it's Tramp in the very, very front foreground.
The color kind of hurts it because everybody's colored wrong.
Yeah.
But there are Easter eggs there if you know where to look. So Darkwing addresses everybody, goes on and on and on. And it's all Darkwing dialogue. Nobody in the crowd is saying anything. But in the Joe Books version, Darkwing makes a comment like, "I'll make this brief." And somebody goes, "That'll be a change."
Nice.
But again, if you look really carefully at the microphones he's talking into, Tiffany, what color are they?
They are red, blue, yellow, green. Wait, yeah, green. Yeah.
Now, I'll correct you, Tiffany. They are yellow, blue, red, blue, purple, blue, purple, green, and yellow. And you know what? Tonight was the first time I ever noticed it.
I was trying to say it in the order it appeared.
Well, I didn't expect you to do that. So Darkwing goes to the edge of the bridge, and he's ready for whatever's down there in the water. And Morgana's ready to use her magic on it, I guess to figure out what it is.
Yeah. Revealo.
Yeah, but she can't detect it. She kind of gets a little dizzy as she's trying to figure this out. Who does Darkwing think it is?
He, just like everybody else reading it, thinks it's Liquidator. And
it is Liquidator, but he isn't the source of the problem. He jumps out of the water. He's like, wrong. Beautiful splash page of him jumping out of literally.
Splash
it's
page.
Literally, pun definitely intended. So
I love that.
So look at her.
Awesome.
I love he gets a scene. Like, it makes up for the fact that we haven't seen him in a while. And he, even though it's very expository, it does kind of sound like him, because he starts with, "Friends, has this ever happened to you?"
Yep.
And apparently he explains that he was in prison in like a cell meant to contain him, but the special force made him join the rest of the city's water. It drew him into it. And he tells everybody, "Act now, your lives are a limited time offer."
And all the Liquidator art is really good.
It looks just like him. It's really, really great.
Yeah.
I think this is the last we see him until Joe Books, not counting Dangerous Currency, which again I don't count as canon. Although we definitely are going to review it, but we're not going to count it as far as canon goes. So things are about to hit the fan. Negaduck realizes that, and for the very first time, Silvani draws him with sharp teeth.
Yeah.
So he presses the button. Definitely shades of Justice Ducks when they push the button on the Electroslave device.
Totally.
And when he says "release the Darkwing," I hear the music from that sequence in my head.
Me
like,
too.
You can't hum it because it's more like generic, like action music, but I hear it. And then
I love the colors too, and all the underground scenes with Magica and Negaduck are really nice.
Very well done. Absolutely well done. And then we get Bowling Ball Darkwing, which who we mentioned last issue was on the cover of issue 5. More references. This guy in his office has the 7 dwarfs figurines on his windowsill. And then Bowling Ball Darkwing crashes through the window.
And he gets an entrance.
What's his entrance?
"I am the terror that rolls in the gutter. I am the 710 split you can't pick up. I am Bowling Ball Darkwing."
And Definitively Dangerous left that alone. That entrance is just perfect. It didn't have to improve it. Usually if there's an entrance in one of these issues, Definitively Dangerous expands on it or improves it. They didn't touch this one. He's like, "Are you a talking bowling ball?" Why, yes.
Yes.
Everybody panic. And we cut back
that.
to the bridge, and who rolls up?
You see Tank Tread roll up and see it's Dark Warrior Duck.
I like how the art is blurred to make it feel like there's a rumbling on the bridge.
And this whole page is great with the rain effect too.
What you can't do digitally, huh? I mean, sometimes I have problems with digital art, but it really works in this comic.
Yeah, it looks really good.
You get Dark Warrior Duck in one of his Dark Warrior tanks. It looks great. And then we get the piece de resistance of this issue. The 2-page spread of all the interdimensional Darkwings attacking St. Canard. And we do have to name all of them.
All right.
So one thing we'll say right away, a lot of the Darkwings are Flying Monkey Darkwings from Wizard of Oz. There's a whole ton of them here. Probably about 6 or 7 of them.
Did he just capture like a whole group of them from that one dimension?
Looks like it. Do you want to name all the ones on the first page?
All right. Well, I have it as one page, but I'll try. Okay, so we got one that looks like Mr. Fantastic.
Or Elastigirl.
Yeah. And one that looks like Arachno Duck, one that looks like Fozzie, one that looks like him from Let's Get Respectable.
The People's Protector. He is the supernova at the center of the universe. You know?
The sumo wrestler Darkwing, and one of my personal favorites, Demolition Duck.
Ooh, a master of terror, trust me.
Shadow puppetry.
Love it. What a great episode.
And you got one that's him with a giant top hat.
I'm sure it's a reference, but I don't know to what.
And then you got him from, I don't remember the name of the episode, but where he's with Gizmo Duck and he makes his own Gizmo.
Up and awry.
Yeah.
And he like straight out copied the pose he makes in the costume.
Totally. And then another one of my favorites, Jumpin' Quack Flash. Oh,
And above him is Roller Duck.
oh yeah.
Both from Jailbird.
Yeah.
And in the middle we have Caveman Darkwing again. Then we've got Wally Darkwing. And at the very bottom of the page we have Darkwing as a mole.
I think maybe it's supposed to be the Underminer.
The Underminer. Oh, duh. Okay, lots of Incredibles references. We got Werewolf Darkwing. Up at the top, we got Silver Surfer Darkwing again, although he's gold. I believe that's Batman and Robin Darkwing.
Yeah.
And a Thunderquack that looks like a TIE fighter. We got Darkwing Doubloon. Darkwing Doubloon. Oh, God, that voice in that episode. Tinkerbell Darkwing. Cyclops Darkwing, which I guess isn't really a reference to something. It's just Cyclops Darkwing. And we got everything but the kitchen sink Darkwing. Actually, we do get the kitchen sink Darkwing, which is a sink flying in the air with a Darkwing hat. I think that's all of them, at least in this spread. Isn't this great?
Yeah, I love it.
I think Silvani really likes Fozzie because this is the second Fozzie reference in only 6 issues. Love it though. And Boom was doing Muppet comics too, so this is a nice little crossover thing. We get a couple more. We cut the launch pad on the next page, watching from the window. We get more flying monkeys, and we get Spaceman Darkwing again. I think, is that Tarzan Darkwing?
I think he has like the dreadlocks, kind of.
And a purple dragon Darkwing, which we're trying to figure out if that's any specific Disney dragon, but I don't think so. It's not Elliot. It's not Maleficent. It's not the Reluctant Dragon. So I just think it's a unique thing.
Yeah.
And a weird spaceship in the next panel that looks like a Thunderquack with forward-facing pointed wings.
Yeah, it looks familiar, but I can't pinpoint what it is.
Yeah, I apologize for having no idea what that is myself. So Launchpad calls the crime bots to become hero bots. And we see the short order cook one, the landscaper, the personal injury one. They're all like jumping into action. The landscaper crime bot just did a Pinocchio topiary. And what happens next? We see Goslin's school. What's going on in Goslin's school?
All the flying monkeys are causing havoc. And
that's a lot of flying monkeys.
Yeah, there's so many flying monkeys. And or flying ducks.
duck monkeys, monkey ducks.
And Goslin realizes it's time to break out Gosmo Duck.
What's on her lunchbox?
She's got the Incredibles on her lunchbox.
Again, I think Boom was doing Incredibles comics, so they just the cross promotions here are just writing themselves. And then on our final page, Morgana zaps her and Darkwing away from Dark Warrior Duck back to the house.
Oh yeah, and I love how the cloud that she makes, it says Pamf instead of Bamf.
How would that sound?
Pamf.
All right, I'll take your word for it. How do we end?
We get there's that back to the house, and you see another reference in the background of the what do you call it? The box that Grimhilda had in Snow White for Snow White's heart for some reason.
Why does he have that in his house?
I don't know.
Whose heart is in there?
That's scary.
Oh Lord. But he says he's gonna go into action. He's Darkwing Duck. He knows who he is. He's the one and only.
I kind of don't like the dialogue here. It's a little cheesy.
But you want to hear something funny? Even though the dialogue balloon was moved to somewhere else on the next panel, he pretty much says the same thing in the Definitively Dangerous. He doesn't say I am Morgana's boyfriend. I think he says I am Morgana's Smoopy Bear or something like that. Why doesn't he say Honey
Wumpus?
Why doesn't he say Honey Wumpus?
Yeah.
In the last issue, he calls her Honey Bunch. It's Honey Wumpus, guys.
Yeah, that's weird.
But the dialogue is pretty much the same. It's been reordered a bit, but when I read this, I'm like, I have to go back to Definitively Dangerous. He doesn't say this, does he? And I went there, I'm like, he does. He says the exact same thing. Hey, whatever. All the changes can't be winners. But as we wrap up now, this one is better than issue 5. Absolutely. Like, I like this one a lot.
Me too.
What would you rate it?
I would actually give it a 5.
Nice. I don't think I'm going to go as high as you. I might give it a 4.5. But explain your rating.
I think, all the art again is amazing. I actually think it's possibly the best so far to me.
Nice.
What was that?
No, go ahead.
Oh, everything that happens in it is great. I think it's funny, and yeah, there's not many problems that I have with the dialogue either. I just think it's super fun. That's like the best way to describe it is fun.
Yeah.
One.
While the dialogue was improved for the most part in Definitively Dangerous, it's not really bad to start off. It's okay. Yeah. And I think a lot of like the big splash panels are fantastic. Like a lot of the 1-page stuff or the 2-page spread with all the Darkwings going crazy. Like this stuff is fantastic. And this is when things have built. And this is when I think this might be the strongest out of the 4 issues. And the art is fantastic. It's fun to point out the references. I think it does go a little overboard, but it's fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is a great issue. I remember reading this when it was brand new and like getting really excited as to what was coming next. Because this definitely ends on a really nice cliffhanger. So yeah, that's issue 6.
Wait, what was the rating?
Did I say? I think I said 4.5.
Oh.
I think. It was either 4.5 or 4. My short-term memory is terrible. But let's just go with a final score of 4.5 from me. So next week we have issue 7. Which lot more different Darkwings from different dimensions. We get some Gosmo Duck. I even think we get a little bit of Honker comes back as well, and Darkwing fights Negaduck. Lots of great stuff is happening. I'm not going to give it away. This is in general a pretty strong story arc. I don't know if it's as strong as the first one, but I think as far as action and just overall craziness, this is definitely the best one in terms of just what it packs in.
Yeah, it's super fun.
But that's issue 7. That's next week. And before we go, Tiffany, anything you want to plug or just tell the fans where they can find you?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram at Tiffany Silverbraun and at Regurgitating Gertie, and I'm on YouTube at Radioactiffany.
Awesome. Okay, and you guys know where to find me. And we are the St. Canard Files, a Darkwing Duck podcast. We're on all podcast apps, Stitcher, Spotify, Google, iTunes. You can watch us on YouTube. We're also on iHeartRadio, Pandora, Podcast Radio Public, and Facebook. And you can, I haven't mentioned this in a while, you can join our communities on Facebook. We have one just for the podcast where we post when episodes drop as far as character of the week and some news, and then we have a group page where anyone can post, and we also have communities on Instagram, Twitter, and Reddit. So if wherever your social media poison is, we're there for you. So with that said, Tiff, until next week, everybody stay dangerous.
Bye.
Take care, everybody.